Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into the Odd Thoughts podcast. My name is Gunther, and I am your host, and welcome to episode 11. If you're someone who likes to think about the everyday odd thoughts, then this could be the podcast for you. I'm true. I'm going to try to do my best to be, semi entertaining and semi informative. So if that's your type of content, then I appreciate you tuning in. So for today's episode, for episode 11, I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a step back when it comes to the topics or, what I want to talk about. Usually with the podcast, I feel like I've always been trying to center each one on a specific topic, whether it be something about my mental health or about mental health in general and or something that I love, something that I enjoy. And so I've had a lot of fun, doing the research for those episodes and truly, I know that I'm going to keep doing those types of episodes, but I don't think that I always should be doing just kind of specific themes. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes that can maybe detract people from listening to the podcast, and also I think kind of puts a pressure on me to like really hone in on a specific topic. And like I said, I'm going to continue to do those because they're very relevant. But just trying to think of maybe something to kind of throw in, in between those types of episodes. You know what I'm saying? So today's episode, I kind of wanted to just take a step back. I just want to kind of just talk about a few different things. I always talk about that there's sometimes topics that I feel like I can't really do like a full episode on, or like maybe I can, but I just like don't have like enough of the concept behind it. So maybe like I start taking a shot at like having a few episodes, or maybe trying to do that more frequently where like I take a shot at a couple different things and really try to hone in on the idea of what odd thoughts are, kind of. Sorry. It's just funny to think, I love the name of the podcast, but it's sometimes it's not necessarily super odd thoughts. Stuff are pretty normal, but it's more so the idea of what comes to mind at the moment it comes to mind. It's whatever can come to mind throughout whenever. Yada yada. So maybe I should throw in more episodes where I feel a little more, discussive, a little more random, a little more just whatever. We're just hanging out really, right? This is what we're doing. We're just hanging out. So so come along with me for a kind of an experimental episode, I guess, for episode 11. Might as well, which is just I just never really, like I said, I had the idea of like I have all these topics that I can't really put into like a podcast. I kind of was like already counting the podcast idea out. So but what if I throw a couple ideas in for one episode, for like the whole entire episode, and so see how it goes. But before I get into that, really, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm doing all right. I truly, I've had kind of a rough last day or two. Truly, I struggle a lot with my self thoughts and think how I think, and my mental health. It's not always great, and I've just been really in a bad space for the last couple days. And I know that I get my ups and downs, and I really do, and I try my best to take myself out of that thought, and it's hard. It really is. And last night I was venting to my dad, and I was just kind of laying it in and laying into it, and I get so worked up, and I realize that I really do kind of work myself up a lot. I kind of overwork myself up, but I just I don't know. I just sometimes I have to let it out. Which is a big thing with the podcast that I really appreciate is it gives me a chance to get up on the mic and vocalize. So this is a nice thing, especially coming after having just a bad couple days, and I get to kind of talk about it, and hopefully not get too emotional about it. I'm someone who I can cry on a whim, so it's whatever. But I'm trying my best to not have so many bad days. I know that the bad days are gonna stick. Like I just know that I'm gonna have my bad days, and I'm really gonna struggle, but I can have good days too. That's what's I'm trying my best to wake up with more good days than bad days, and it's just I'll wake up with the right intentions, and wake up with a good thought, and having a good vibe, but something just always throws me off. Like it always just feels like it just feels like something every day is just there to kick me down, or just make me feel some type of way about something. So it's a struggle, because I also it's there's an idea that maybe I'm always just kind of you know cautiously tiptoeing around thinking that something's always going to happen too, which is there's a truth to that. I think I have to honestly admit that. If it's something I've talked about in my last few episodes. I kind of laugh at myself a little bit with like how ridiculous I get sometimes, and I talk about some of this stuff in my episodes with some of the stuff about my mental health and or just about mental health in general, but I don't apply it to myself. And so it makes me feel a little fake that I'm like talking about these things and I'm trying my best to be, I'm just trying my best to explain everything I can and just open the thought up about these things and then I don't apply it to myself, which is kind of funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's ridiculous and kind of stupid because I don't know if I necessarily say good things, but the fact that I'm opening these thoughts and these ideas to myself, I should be applying it. That's the whole idea is that you ask these questions so that you can try to find an answer for. The questions won't go away maybe necessarily, but it's the continual pursuit of trying to figure out just the answers. So so I just don't have I struggle some days and I struggle most days really. And I feel bad when I have to when I don't have to, but like when I do let it out on other people, you know, which makes me a recluse. Yeah, that's why I sit in my room most days and don't really do much, and I just like I try to work as much as on podcasting and other outlets, and just things just don't feel. It only does so much. I can only feel like I'm accomplishing so much, but when I have that poor self thought, and I have those voices in my head, or that one big loud voice of myself in my head telling me yada yada, whatever it is, it's hard. It's a struggle. So I, I do my best to try to tell myself, I got to show up for myself every day. So it's something that I try to have that's like the one thing, my one, you know, affirmation that I try to hold on to is, just showing up for myself every day. But I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling this way. I get really tired. It's draining. I don't feel at peace. I read something that like depression is described. It was described as like your brain wanting to die, but your body wanting you to live type thing, which is a very realistic. It's a very real description. I'm just tired. I just like don't know how much more I can give. I try, but how hard but I also question myself about how hard do I really try, because I understand that sometimes there is that there obviously is the mental and the inner thoughts, but I gotta make sure that I'm also showing up for myself on the outside. You have to have the balance of both. I realize that it doesn't just start with a good thought. It doesn't just start with thinking a little better about yourself or just whatever it is. It also takes enacting it into your actual life. So that's something I know that I need to be better at is equating to the things that I talk about, when I'm not talking badly about myself and negatively about myself, when I do think positively, to equate those things into outer life, into the real world, which is which I struggle with, which is something it is hard. It's not as easy said and done, especially when these inner thoughts that I have are so they just it's like it involves everything. It just devolves everything I want to do outside of myself. However I can explain that better. But I gotta realize that I do have good days, and I really do hang on to those good days. Like I do appreciate having good days, and I know something that I remember one time saying in one of my episodes was kind of making sure that I'm looking forward to the future good times. Making sure that's kind of something that you keep in your head about looking forward and looking forward to the good moments and to the good days, and making sure that I'm not really hanging on the bad days because they come in the bad days come in ample amounts here. So so just try to have more good days or try to look forward to the good days, and making sure that like I can just pull my and I've use it as a launching pad, sort of. Make sure that the negative emotions that I feel are only trying to lead to the empowering of myself for the future. However, I just haven't, just haven't connected the links yet. I just haven't made the connections. I know I'm sorry for laughing at myself a little bit when I talk about these things, but it's better. I don't want to seem so weak over the microphone. I don't want to. No, no, I don't want to cry. That's for sure. I don't want to. But then I won't be able to talk, and then I don't have anything to say. We'll move on from that. But yeah, so for some episodes, I'll keep thinking for the future episodes, like I will continue to do these kind of deeper topics about my mental health, but I do want to throw in some of those random kind of topics. So we're gonna do it for episode 11. I don't know what I might just like in the title or like on YouTube, and I'm putting my podcast on Spotify now, which is I should have done from the beginning, but I just didn't think about it. I just wanted to kind of get the ball rolling. But maybe I'll just like I only want to talk about a few things because like they're gonna be random, but I don't know how deeply I can devolve or what's not devolve, but like what's I don't know talk about. Sorry, I'm confusing myself just thinking about stuff. So yeah, so I got a few random topics. What do you want to know? Ask me something. I can't hear you, so I guess I'll just figure it out. One thing I was thinking about, which I kind of thought was funny, and something I have like a really deep, infatuation with is urbex, which or urbexing, which is urban exploring. I literally watch videos all the time on YouTube Shorts, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, like of abandoned buildings, whether it be like an abandoned mansion out in the middle of nowhere, or abandoned house on the suburbs, or like an abandoned supermarket or abandoned warehouse of some sort. And I watch those videos with such like I want to go, but then also I'm thinking I'm like a hypochondriac in a way of like what about sorry, what about like tetanus or something like that, or what about getting like some sort of disease, or an animal with rabies or something like that, or people are like, oh, what about it must have ghost activity. It's like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool to see some ghost at an abandoned building, but I'm kind of more worried about like crackheads. Kind of more worried about like the vicious people hiding in those buildings. But I get so enamored with those videos. I love watching that stuff, and Texas is a big state too, and Texas has got plenty of that kind of stuff just around for sure. So I get that like I get going a lot. I just really want to go, but I'm not going by myself. I don't think I can handle going into these places by myself, thinking that I'm gonna be able to do something if I get caught in something or if something happens. So I question like what would be a perfect group, because if you got a couple of y'all, then it's kind of like it's a small group, and things can you kind of can get by, and someone's watching your back and you're watching their back in return, and so that works. But and then if you have like 5 or 6 people, maybe that might be too many. It feels like then you're drawing attention to the place. So I don't know. I don't even have people in my life that want to go do that kind of stuff necessarily. My sisters, I try to get them to do the things that I like, but I don't even think I could pull through with that stuff. Like, I don't think I could comfortably handle or be comfortable with myself letting my sisters, explore that kind of dangerous stuff. If it was with a few of us, then maybe it was something. But I get interested. I'm a history buff too, kind of. I like history, so when I see some of these places, it feels like some of them are literally like time capsules. They're literally like just frozen pictures in time, and I get really interested in what what at what time they were frozen at, and it's like some stuff from the 70s, or opened in the early 2000s or something like that, and that stuff is super cool. And I get really the mall ones are really cool because how big the places are, and how much there is, when it's maybe like a house maybe when it's just like a house, you only could do so much. And I always get kind of like, I question whether when like you see these abandoned houses or whatever, if someone owns it, if someone owns like the land or if it literally is just like a house sitting there, nobody knows about it and just it's waiting for someone to do something about, because that's a little sketchy to then it's, but also I guess I have the same question with like supermarkets or malls. Like someone owns that land. I mean, someone owns it. So, and that's why it's trespassing, but what are you going to, what are you doing with it? What do you? I also it gives you the sometimes I see some of the houses and I always think like, oh, I could rebuild that. I could just give me a few $100,000. I got it. Think I'm just maybe a little delusional. But I played Sims for a lot of my life. I love the Sims. I'm always in between on with the Sims. Like there's in the Sims community amongst Simmers. You're either like a builder or you're like a lifer. So like you like to build or you like to play like through the game. Like you like to play the lives of the Sims. And I play both. Like I'm both with that stuff. But every time I watch these urban exploring videos and I see these houses, I'm like, oh, for sure. Like, I could build that back up and just a little clean and you'd be all right. Some of them are amazing. Some of these, like, I like the mansions in the middle of like the woods, like that, just like someone owned it in the '70s for like a few years and then nothing. You know, I love those are the ones I like the most, and the mall ones too. Because every time I think of the mall, I think of Left 4 Dead 2 or yeah, or Left 4 Dead 1. I forget which one it was that where one of the levels is a mall. I always think of that, or Dawn of the Dead. I mean, sheesh. Just forget one of the greatest horror movies of all time. The original, but I mean, I like the remake too, but the original, the original Dawn of the Dead still takes place in a mall. They're both relevant, but George A. Romero really started something with that, and it's funny to think about how goofy those zombies look a little bit in Dawn of the Dead in the original one, because their faces can be kind of bluish, maybe and sometimes a little greenish and sometimes a little grayish. It was just how the film was filming that day. I love watching behind the scene videos on movies, and that stuff's really interesting, and that's kind of like when you learn about like, oh, we just were trying to do something with that and it just didn't look right, but like you still get the effect. I mean, they're still zombies and you still get the effect in the movie. Yeah. Excuse me, but yeah, but urban exploring is funny, and very intriguing to me. But I'm scared of like, yeah, like I said, tetanus or wild animals or getting bit by a spider, you know. But I'm not turning into Spidey Man, so that's not a bad thing. I could be Peter Parker. Well, I'd be myself, I guess. I wouldn't just no, yeah, just like get bit by a radioactive spider, but and not turn into Spider Man, but turn into Peter Parker. Yikes. Well, I mean, Peter Parker was cool. He was super smart, so I mean, it'd be an improvement from my life. But I don't feel like getting bullied and stuff, and more than I used to. And I want Mary Jane. You know what I'm saying? I'm Kirsten Dunst. Even though like I did like Andrew Garfield. His like he was with Gwen Stefani, not Gwen Stefani. Jesus Christ, Gwen Stacy. Sorry, but Emma Stone. But I like that. I thought that was good. Because that's part of the comics. That's how comics are so funny in the way of like they'll just run with a certain timeline and then like they'll just be like, well, we're reinventing it. So that no, this is the real Peter Parker. This is the real Bruce Wayne. And that gets a little too much when it's just the same person portraying the superhero when it's just Peter Parker again. But it's fun when you get the little diversions of instead of Mary Jane it's Gwen Stacy. Yeah, I thought I was gonna mess up again on the name. But and then it gets things like I think in one of the Batman comics, I think it's, instead of Bruce's parents dying, it was Bruce and his mom. So then Thomas Wayne becomes like a Batman. I think in one of the comics. I'm not big on comics, but I try to do a little research. I try to do a little snooping in the comics. You know what I'm saying? A little snooping. Sorry, but yeah. But yeah, urban exploring. I might do one day when I feel a little more confident. Make sure I got the equipment to protect myself too. Um, what else did I want to talk about? What other topics do I have? So something very real. I guess is still trying to talk about the real topics here. You know what I'm saying? The real topics. Every day. It literally I talk about and I try to talk myself out of it every day. Is late afternoon naps. Literally taking naps like late into the day, not even like late afternoon, literally nighttime naps. Just like taking going to sleep at 6 o'clock, waking up at 9 o'clock, and being up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Fall for it every day. Can't the Sandman hits me the same time every day, man. I can't escape it. Um, but I can't. I like me a good nap too, and I'm not a 30 to an hour napper. You know what I'm saying? I'm a 3 hour napper easily, easily. And so I get caught with that a lot. I don't wake up late either. I wake up at like 8, you know what I'm saying, or 7 or 6 sometimes. Like, so I'm waking up relatively early. I just like, and then I won't get tired until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then I try to hold off, thinking that I can hold off on the nap. I don't need the nap today, but then inevitably, 4 or 5 o'clock is gonna hit. Probably about the time I'm gonna eat too, like, for dinner, like dinner. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm inevitably gonna go to sleep for a long time, and then it'll be dark, and then I feel like I wasted the night. And then I'm up till 3 in the morning and 2 in the morning, and I don't. But I realized that it really truly I only sleep for like a few hours at a time. I'm not a good sleeper, I can catch myself sometimes falling asleep in random places, which I guess that makes me a kind of a decent sleeper, but I'm never passed out for very long. Either when I'm laying in bed and I'm actually comfortable, I'm only getting like 3 or 4 hours, it feels like sometimes. So so when I kind of think about it, like I guess I'm getting a full 6 to 8 hours every day because I sleep through the night for 3 to 4 hours, and then I take my nap for 3 to 4 hours. But the idea is that you want to try to sleep it all at once. That's the idea, just for your health, just for the beneficialness of your health. That's one thing I learned when I was like when I went to therapy and I was getting help, for my mental health and stuff like that. It was that everybody has something called a circadian rhythm, circadian, something like that, and it's something that it's your body's biological clock basically, and that throughout the day everybody peaks at certain moments. And so if you throw yourself off by sleeping too late or not waking up consistently at the same time, and not eating at certain points, or not doing this, or not doing that, it messes up your biological clock. So that was something that I really learned, and I tried doing my best, but it was really hard to. I was taking like melatonin, and I also had like medication to go to sleep, but it was like I would take this melatonin, and I would get like this sense of like I would get scared to fall asleep for some reason, and honestly, it has kind of like equated to, still I feel that way till this day. Is I get this weird like before I want to like go to sleep and I kind of get tired, I get this weird like anxiety, I'm like anxious to fall asleep because I don't want to like dream about something, or like something. It's weird. It's random. It's like, or nightmares. Like I don't want to have nightmares, even though like usually you can snap out of it pretty quickly, and obviously you dream a lot throughout the night. It's just whether you remember it or not. Gosh. But I just get so scared. I just like don't want to. I just don't want to remember it at all. So then I get like scared of that for some reason, or that I'm not gonna wake up or something, which is just one of those irrational fears. Just one of one of the many that I think sometimes. And that was something as a kid I used to struggle very heavily with, was like I used to get scared that I would like just not wake up for some reason. I don't know why. It's not. I wasn't scared of anybody. I wasn't scared of my parents or something like that. It literally was never that. It was never. I wasn't scared of anybody. It was just like I was scared of. I just like I was gonna either wake up dead. How do you wake up dead? You when you're dead, because you was alive when you went to sleep. From Scary Movie 3. Sorry, I just ruined that. I just ruined it for everybody. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But I just was afraid that I would wake up dead or something like that. Or I'd wake up like 60 years old or something, like just way in the future, like where did the time go? I was in a, I realized as a kid, I was a pretty existential kid. I thought about like the world ending and like disease and weird shit. I was just like I was a weird kid. I was like the kid in what's the one movie with this the what's it called, the Switch or whatever, the one with it's got Jason Bateman and Jennifer Aniston, and Jennifer Aniston's gonna have a kid, but she has like the sperm donor, and Jason Bateman like spills out the sperm and like don't you know what I'm saying, and then like it's his kid or whatever. Like I'm that kid. I was definitely like that kind of kid. I was a happy kid, but I just like was weird, like and not like hypochondriac-ish. I wasn't really like that until now, but used to be just be like like thinking the world was gonna end or just thinking about bad things, like thinking about being like having no money or something. It was just stuff you're not supposed to be thinking about when you're like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10, 11, all the way till now. I've just always been that way. I've never had like that kind of that full on moment of peace. It's just whatever, which is okay. Like keep me on my toes. You know what I'm saying? I'm always ready for the worst. You don't even play with me. I'm 5 steps away from being a doomsday prepper. Oh no, I can't. I can't do that to myself. That would be the worst. That would be. I love. I mean, like, hey, man, they got something to the bunker. And, oh gosh, I could snap out of it. I gotta snap out of it. Whatever. They got something to the bunkers and canned foods. I don't care. I'll say it. It makes me think of the scene from Grease 2 when he like the one dude take one of the T-birds takes the Grease 2, everybody's beloved musical Grease 2. When one of the T-birds takes like a girl to like a bunker. Sorry for if I keep hitting the microphone, but one of the T-birds takes like a girl to like a bunker, and just like and they fake like a bomb raid, dude. Anything when you're a teenage boy, anything for a little nanny. Say for a little nanny. That's so funny. Never say that again, Gunther. Never say that again. But yeah, where was I? What was I on? Late naps. Is taking naps too late. Yeah, but I talk to I literally try to talk myself out of it every day. I literally like I'll start like I said, I get tired about 2 or 3 o'clock, and I try to say like, oh, I'll just try to ride the tiredness out, however that's gonna work. Like I'm gonna ride it out until later tonight, and that just never works. It's just never gonna work. It's just not how that's just not realistic. So I enjoy it. It's not like I don't enjoy a little siesta. I don't get nervous though. Like I don't have that sleep anxiety when I'm taking naps though, which is funny. Like I get up right before I'm when it's nighttime. I'm not scared of the dark. I'm not. I'm not scared of the dark. I'm not scared of the dark. But I just for some reason I don't know why. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the late naps though, especially when you're like working. Like I think I kind of got into that habit of like I'd get home at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or something like that, and I'd be tired and I'd maybe like try to stay up, but obviously I get out of my work clothes, I lay down for 1 second and it's over. I'm gonna fall asleep. So that's funny. That's yeah, probably it's like it's being so ingrained in that. But yeah. What else? Um, I was thinking about I kind of was watching this video on Facebook, and it was a woman talking about her relationship with her husband, and she was talking about how like how 50-50 is like how going on a relationship 50-50, how like that's the whole moniker, like you want to be meet your partner halfway all the time is maybe somewhat unrealistic. How maybe that 50-50 moniker, that kind of meeting each other halfway, isn't always that realistic. And she was talking about how like especially in her example she kind of framed it as she was very open, like she communicates a lot with her significant other, and I know that most people do, communicate with their significant other, especially when you want to be honest about like where you are, and that's kind of where she was talking about is like where you are in that at that moment, energy level, emotionally, kind of where you're at, and when someone is struggling harder than you are, and even when you're struggling, but someone else is that your significant other is obviously like struggling, then like you got to maybe reach out a little bit more. She was like saying that like they'll be honest with each other and give each other percentages. They'll say like, well, I'm at about 20%. So then the other one knows that like, well, I got to be at 80%. I got to meet you the rest of the way. And that was a really interesting way to take about it. And I've never been in any serious relationships. I've managed to date a few girls, you know what I'm saying, and that's about it. I've just nothing super long term. So I've never had that chance to have to go like super, I have to overreach myself. I've done it out of the sense of myself, like being like a little bit of a simp or something like that, or being just like trying to be as best as I've trying to be that man for someone, you know what I'm saying? Like, but realizing that maybe that's not always like how it is really in relationships. In sometimes some people are stronger than the other person, and there's an attraction that inevitably happens between people. And sometimes when you're maybe a person that can't handle their emotion, and you feel a little weaker, and you know that you hurt in certain places, and with certain thoughts in your mind, that you then become attracted to the person that can take you out of that. And that person inevitably will have to reach past that 50%, because you don't want to, because then if you're just showing up 50%, you might be showing up short too often. And that could be, that's a whole nother question of, is like, if you're if you're trying to put in a preconceived amount of effort, you know it's like the idea of tallying, oh, I did this, I always do this, remember when this happened. That's just not what you do in relationships, right? Is you don't keep tallies of the other person. You don't try to like hold these things against them. And so if you're it's you don't want to be that person that only has a preconceived, oh, I'm only going to give this much every day because they're not giving that much, so I'm just going to give that much, and it's a 50-50, right? So I'm only going halfway. I think you got to be aware that when you step into a relationship, that you're probably going to have to go past that 50% at times. And and also making sure that you find someone that is going to step past that 50% as well. And even when they're not asked to, cuz you're not always going to be asked to either. You're going to have to show up like that for your significant other, especially when you love someone. And maybe even you can extend it past just a significant other, or be a relationship thing, and even in friendships, sometimes even in friendships, you're the friend that is constantly hitting people up, and or you're the friend that maybe like, is getting hit up all the time, and that's how things work, and that's that dynamic. But you also got to make sure that maybe you have to be the person to do the other thing. Make sure that people hit you up, sit back and let that happen, or if be the person to do that. I think you got to be on. It's the fluctuations that go with the human mind in general. The how part of the day you feel this way, and part of the day you feel that way, and you have a good span of a couple of days, and then maybe a bad span, and you can't guarantee that everything's always going to be good every day. So sometimes you're gonna have to, you want that also, to have someone show up for you like that, because even when you want to put out more, I know that just in a circumstance of the energy, and just in my personal life, like I want to give myself more, but sometimes I just don't have it. And maybe I need someone. Realistically, I talk to myself all the time, is maybe I need someone to distract myself from myself, to take me away from that low percentage of energy I have, and meet me there, and take me out of there, bring me to 50%, if you will. Because I guess that's maybe the end goal, is to have that equilibrium of 50%, 50-50. You want to have the balance. That's the equilibrium. But you know that it's just not, it's hard to seriously equate, percentages like that in a weird way. It's hard to put math on a relationship, but the hard to put on, like, to know that even when you think you're doing a lot, that maybe it's not necessary, because if the other person is doing just as much, then you know that you both are showing up. And then the idea of like what a percentage, like, it's, that's it's I love the video of that. I wish I would remembered her name, but I've heard her talk before. I remember her giving like a TED talk on talking about how on about like, she like interviewed women for a long time about like women's issues and stuff like that. And like one time she talked to a guy, and how she was talking to the guy, like kind of was like, do you do men's, rights and men's issues? And she was like, no. And he's like, just kind of not called her out, but kind of opened her mind to the idea that both women and men struggle. They're independent from each other in their struggles, but they both struggle. And so you got to really be on. And obviously not every relationship is man woman, right? There's man man and woman woman. So, but you just realizing that more so as an individual, your struggles are going to be different. You're just going to have struggles, and you got to be really real with yourself. Is when you don't have it, to make sure that even asking for it is hard, but sometimes you got to be able to ask for it. Hopefully you have someone that just kind of, doesn't, you don't have to ask for it, but that's a perfect world, and we don't live in a perfect world. Even if you do your best to try to. But yeah, like, and that's hard coming from me saying that, because I've never had a serious like long term relationship where I felt like I've seriously had to go that pull given pull of like, giving energy into the relationship. I've done it for myself, like I said, as a personal thing, but it's hard to, like I said, maybe you don't take it seriously because I say it, but I've seen a lot of relationships that just haven't worked because of like the amount of effort that is put in by one person, and like, hey, I struggle. It's like when you love someone, you're obviously going to be willing to put in as much effort as possible, but then I have seen the other person not taking the same approach to that energy, and then not even trying to meet them. Like, not calling out anybody. I was gonna, but I won't. It's just that's a big question. That's a big topic to talk about. But yeah, like I know that inevitably I gotta be. I'm always gonna be real with myself every day. My personal life of the energy that I can give myself. So inevitably, it's gonna be the same thing with when I become serious with a woman. Why I gotta be so weird? I was struggling to talk there because I feel like I get so talkative and I take those little breaths all the time. I know it's kind of annoying a little bit, but I get so worked up. But yeah, that's all. That's all I really got for that. That's all. That's all I really have. Yeah, honestly, that's all I really have for episode 11. Honestly, like I said, I just wanted to throw a couple topics out there. Just a couple random topics and talk because I can't spend too much on those. Maybe in the future I can kind of delve a little deeper into some things like I can delve a little bit into like the idea of going 50-50 on relationships and just relationships in general. Like I know that inevitably I will, but just throw it out there for right now. Just put the little taste out there, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, and it's so funny. Last episode, I was talking about trying to keep my episodes like between 30 and 45 minutes. So yeah, we're at 37 minutes right now. So what's up? Yeah, I could do it. I know. I believed in myself. But yeah, that's all. That's all I really want to talk about for today. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it short. A little bit about urban exploring, which is so funny to think about, and the late naps, which I'm probably will never avoid taking a late nap until I have kids or something like that, probably, and going 50-50 on relationships. Very relatable topics. Part of the everyday odd thoughts, I guess. I guess we finally hit the namesake of the podcast, y'all. Hallelujah. Everybody celebrate. I'm celebrating here in my luxurious studio. Ow. Keep hitting my hand on stuff. I don't know if y'all keep hearing me hitting stuff, but I'm a little big for the closet, so but hey, it's luxury. But yeah, that's it. I'll wrap it up. I just wanted to let everybody know that it's okay to not always be okay. I got a little sentimental at the beginning and got a little sappy about things, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you're okay. To tell yourself that you're okay is something that you should involve heavily in your life, and it's so simple, but it is a hard thing to do because you're not okay sometimes, and generally speaking, you may not always be okay, and you want to work towards getting better, and however that may be, whether it be trying to fill your life up with some sort of fulfillment of maybe people, maybe having friends and being in a relationship, or if you want to seek therapy, I strongly suggest that for people, or just like anything to distract yourself. At the end of the day, that stuff is still will be there, but maybe you can distract yourself for a little bit. Pick up a passion, pick up a hobby, feed your energy into something else. So just make sure you keep yourself going, everybody, and just show up for yourself every single day. And I know that I am. I know that I'm going to do my best. And I've had the rough last couple days, but I know that not every single day is going to be rough. So yeah. So just everybody keep your head up. Everybody keep moving, right? I appreciate everybody for listening to this episode, and I'm hoping to throw more of these episodes on into my podcast. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, a little struggle there. But yeah, I'm gonna post. I just started posting my podcast not only on YouTube, but I've also started posting it on Spotify podcast. So if you're someone who wants to go listen to my podcast, you can go on YouTube or Spotify podcast. They're both going to be the same name. It's the Odd Thoughts Podcast. Pretty easy, just simple name. If you want to follow me on other social medias, I am on Facebook under Gunther Getlicker, which is my name. Both those G's are capitalized. You can follow me on Instagram. I go by Gunther underscore Getlicker. Both those G's are lowercase. And then on Twitter, I have at one Mike GG, which both those G's are uppercase. But yeah, so go listen to my podcast. I appreciate everybody for listening to the podcast, and just remember, everybody, be excellent to each other.